This
Yeah.
film is a bit darker in nature.
Yes.
How was it getting in touch with your darker side?
It was just more like all the facades that I put up, I just had like let go, so you guys got to see the real me. I'm just just a dark, horrible person, and I just got to let my flag fly. So there you go. This is the real me.
Hi, besties. It's Katie Joy from Without a Crystal Ball. Wayfair and Kevin Fritz are standing up for content creators and pushing back against Blake Lively and her outlandish claims against content creators, the subpoenas, and these claims that Melissa Nathan is continuing to run an orchestrated smear campaign against her, untraceable. In a letter dated today to the judge in response to Miss Lively's motion to compel that she filed on Friday, basically claiming that content creators that have been subpoenaed are now painting her as the aggressor and she's facing public backlash, and it's Melissa Nathan's fault because she's designated one of her documents AEO. And so she's trying to blame Melissa Nathan for the public backlash. Doesn't that sound familiar? Okay. So this is what he wrote in our defense and in defense of Melissa Nathan. According to the motion, a core component of her claims is that the Wayfair parties are engaging in a smear campaign to somehow manipulate the apparently worldwide media landscape using untraceable sources to portray her as the wrongdoer. Characterizing the so-called campaign as untraceable not only defies common sense, given that Lively knows precisely which news articles or stories and the authors she takes issue with, but also undermines any justification for her ongoing effort to use this court and the federal rules of civil procedure to discover the untraceable. It's so true. Blake Lively knows exactly who she's going after. She knows exactly who she's subpoenaing. It's all just this wild, harebrained effort to deflect blame for the backlash she's rightfully receiving. In any event, she contends that TAG may have been able to obscure its contacts in connection with the initial smear campaign in August 24. That is an admission that despite months of discovery, her receipt of thousands of pages of documents and her service of dozens of subpoenas and other requests for written discovery, Lively has no evidence that the Wayfair parties employed a smear campaign and or did anything in August 2024 other than protect their reputations as they are entitled to do when Lively's allegations were publicized. And then they cite an order from Judge Lyman that dismissing Title VII retaliation claim based upon publication of a letter contesting plaintiff's harassment allegations because it was not an adverse employment action. So defending yourself is not an adverse employment action. Indeed, was not retained until early August 2024, rendering her claim that in less than 2 weeks, she was able to turn the public against her. Incredible. Unable to accept the fact that the public backlash against Lively was purely organic, the motion improperly seeks to blame TAG for Lively's sinking reputation without citation to any evidence. The motion alleges that the individuals identified in the interrogatory responses have spoken publicly about Miss Lively and this lawsuit, apparently at the behest of TAG and other Wayfair defendants. However, the motion ignores the broad scope of the interrogatories, which seeks the names of those with whom TAG has merely communicated concerning, among other topics, Lively, her allegations, or this lawsuit from May 24 through the present. That is why the interrogatory responses identify those to whom TAG has harmlessly provided quotes from the Wayfair Party's counsel in response to media requests for formal statements in connection with legal developments herein, as Lively's legal team has repeatedly done. So she's claiming that them issuing statements through Melissa Nathan, who gets requests for comments, that's apparently at the behest, and she's trying to claim that's part of the untraceable smear campaign. The interrogatory responses are in no fashion an admission that Tag communicated with the individuals to tarnish her reputation, as she falsely alleges. She will not uncover any nefarious efforts by the Wayfair parties to convince anyone that she is anything or nothing at all. In fact, Tag did not communicate with any content creators about this matter or the underlying allegations until 2025 when requests for comment were proffered. See, I told you that's what this was going to be about. I knew it was requests for comments. I knew it because a lot of us have been seeking requests for comment. The motion contends that the interrogatory responses, confidentiality, and AEO designations are having very real impacts in the form of content creators who are the subject of discovery. And they've already painted her as the aggressor in the lawsuit and have drawn a false equivalency between her discovery efforts and their alleged smear campaign. That is a long-winded matter of saying that Blake Lively blames Tag for the recent public backlash against her. The allegation is baseless. It is baseless. We're not talking about Tag. We are responding to Blake subpoenaing us when we know full well we did nothing wrong. If she didn't want the backlash, all she had to do was not subpoena us. Because she knows full well that like getting a statement from someone is not slandering anyone. First, if the interrogatory responses are currently reviewable only by counsel, they cannot affect the public's perception of Lively. Exactly. Second, the recent public backlash was seemingly triggered by subpoenas that Lively's counsel served upon Google, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter, X. Collectively, the social media subpoenas seeking all account information, including phone numbers and financial information of specific content creators. According to one article, if Blake Lively had been hoping to garner public sympathy in her ongoing sexual harassment lawsuit with Justin Baldoni, that now seems unlikely, given the backlash over her subpoenas to Google for information about several pro Justin Baldoni YouTubers. Third, of the various content creators and members of the mainstream media identified in the interrogatory responses, only one of them is the subject of the social media subpoenas. So that has to be Andy. I'm assuming. I don't know. Because I think he was identified in the interrogatory responses, but I don't know. Then he also claims that the content creators and members of the mainstream media identified in her interrogatory responses, only one of them is the subject of the social media subpoenas. Therefore, the interrogatory responses and the designations thereof as confidential in AEO are irrelevant to the public relations mess that Lively has brought upon herself. I'm fairly confident that the only person that is identified in the interrogatory responses, I think Andy was Popcorn Planet. And he also is the only one that got a subpoena for the social media. So then he's the one that's apparently designated as AEO because she gave them a statement. She gave Andy a statement. That was it. Andy received a statement from them. That's it. That's all. So she did dox Andy as being the one under AEO. These people are horrible, in my opinion. Had Lively's counsel properly engaged in and continued the meet and confer process concerning the interrogatory responses instead of filing the motion in a misguided effort to blame the Wayfair parties for her public relations woes, a response of this nature would not have been necessary. Tellingly, the motion lacks citation to legal authority supporting the designation of the proprietary information contained within the interrogatory responses. The reason for the admission is clear. The motion was filed for a single purpose: to wrongfully foist upon Tag and the other Wayfair parties the culpability for the criticism Lively has faced for her social media subpoenas. We are literally only criticizing her because she subpoenaed us. Like, she acts like she's the victim of these choices. It's like she cannot ever accept responsibility for anything. It's always somebody else's fault. Tag covets the proprietary nature of the identities of its media contexts, However, TAG is dedicated to standing with the other Wayfair parties to discredit Lively's false allegations of an orchestrated smear campaign. Accordingly, TAG does not oppose the motion and agrees to remove the confidentiality and AEO designations from its responses. In return, TAG trusts that Lively will no longer allege that anything regarding the smear, the so-called campaign, is untraceable. So he then filed a declaration, and he explains what the AEOs are for, that prior to her motion to compel, they did not serve any written notice stating that they were objecting to her using this confidentiality. They even stated that they had a call about this, and they during the call, Kevin says, I explained that the identities of reporters, news or media outlets, and content creators with whom TAG communicated was proprietary to TAG, and the disclosure of which is highly likely to cause a significant competitive business, commercial, or financial injury to TAG, and that such information constituted trade secrets as contemplated by the protective order, and they did not dispute it. And then on July 2nd, they did not explain their purpose that Lively intended to use the responses or why she needed them to be designated. And then the next day, she provided them with subpoenas that she served upon Google, TikTok, and X. And then he shows all the subpoenas with everyone's identities unveiled. And it lists only a few content creators, and the remainder are individuals are affiliated with mainstream media. So the interrogatory responses only has like a couple content creators on it, and the rest are like the Daily Mail or the whatever, the New York Post. And the social media subpoenas seek all account information, including phone numbers and financial information for these creators, only one of which is listed in the responses. In other words, neither TAG nor its owner, Melissa Nathan, nor the interrogatory responses are the reason for the recent public backlash against Lively. So none of us were on this list. None of us. So none of this backlash of them saying that they can't properly communicate with us, it's totally false. Completely false. And it says, regardless, TAG's right to maintain confidentiality of its proprietary business information without waiving any rights of the other parties, and solely to foster this discovery of information that will further demonstrate that there was no orchestrated smear campaign, that the negative publicity surrounding Lively is purely organic. And they agreed to remove the confidentiality designation. So he's basically standing up for content creators and saying, I'm going to remove any obstacles that you have in place that claim that are making it hard for you to communicate with them. But what I also want to say is that he provided the full contents of these subpoenas. So for the Google one, just to tell you who's on here, for the YouTubers that are being listed, it's Kirsty, which is Flossom Talk, Boppin YouTube, Anna OOP, Spill Sesh, Lethal Lauren, Without a Crystal Ball, Fame Key Fasani, never heard of them, Celebs Fusion, Popcorn Planet, Astrology with Janessa, Sweet and Salty Lynn, and that account isn't even monetized. That's someone that went to high school with Blake. Cassidy OC, JZEY News, Trending News S/SLX, Ashley Brianna Eve, Existing to Thrive. She's the one that had literally 2 subscribers before the subpoena was even given out. Some of these accounts are literally like SAI bot accounts. But Anna OOP, Spill Sesh, and Bopping were 3 that we had no idea about. And Anna OOP and Bopping are anonymous. They don't say who they are. Okay, and then as for TikTok, these ones are even crazier. Leslie MG, a username, literally just a username. Lily Lisa on TikTok, Masked Realities, Opinions That Are Mine, and Pop.Diaries and the.news 410. And then username, just a user 67324866124442. So none of these are large creators. None of these are people that have big platforms. Seems a little bit strange. And the Twitter one is even wilder. I mean, it's just accounts of people that have Twitter accounts that tweet about her. I guess X, that post about her. I don't even know what it's called anymore. And most of these people listed are not public figures. They're not even content creators. I mean, the content creators that are on there that post regularly on there about her aren't even mentioned here. I think there's only one, the Kiara Jade, who is she goes by Leanne Newton, I think, on X. Everyone else is just random people on X that post about this lawsuit and share information and comment back and forth to one another. And somehow she wants to tie all of these people to who? Wayfair. And then she filed a misleading and completely defamatory statement in court accusing Melissa Nathan of having us all on a list and saying that this is why she can't communicate with us about these subpoenas and that she's being evasive about them because of that, which, and then after she said that, goes on to accuse Andy falsely of posting a recorded call with one of the receptionists at Manat, Phelps and Phillips, which, by the way, according to you guys in the comments, he said he was on a recorded line. She's trying to deflect everything on this case against all of us for the organic backlash she's receiving. And honestly, I don't know what she was expecting to gain from doing this and why she wouldn't receive backlash on social media. If you've already inflamed social media to the point that, you are getting people to call you out and you're creating your behavior is creating such a bad response, the last thing you would want to do then is to go after these same creators or these accounts and accuse them of some sort of organized smear campaign, which then puts them on the defense. None of us would have said anything about any of this had we never been subpoenaed. She's the one that decided to subpoena us and falsely link us to some sort of illegal, unlawful smear campaign against her. And don't be like the crux of this for a lot of us is that this implication that we're doing this for them and that we're part of this ongoing campaign is accusing us of unlawfully aiding and abetting a smear campaign against an alleged victim of sexual harassment. I mean, she's accusing people of crimes without evidence and then demanding their bank records with no evidence and not even citing what videos or statements made by any of them that would constitute her belief that we're part of some organized campaign. Like when her lawyer spoke to mine, she couldn't cite any of the videos that I posted. She couldn't cite a single statement. She couldn't cite a reason why she believed I was a part of this. Nothing. It was just, you are a part of this. I know you are, and I'm entitled to your bank records. There's a couple things that he points out to in here that I think is, I shared with you last week. I just want to circle back to this before I end this video. But according to the motion's core component of her claims is that the Wayfair parties are engaging in a smear campaign to somehow manipulate the apparently worldwide media landscape using untraceable sources to portray her as a wrongdoer. And then the characterizing the campaign as untraceable not only defies common sense, given that Lively knows precisely which news articles or stories and authors she takes issue with, but also undermines any justification for her ongoing effort to use this court and the federal rules of procedure to discover the untraceable. She's abusing the court system to punish anyone that speaks unfavorably of her, to punish anyone that caused that spoke out against her own behavior in August and continues to speak out about her own behavior today. And then finally, the fact that Tag may have been able to obscure its contacts in connection with the initial smear campaign. That is an admission that despite months of discovery, her receipt of thousands of pages of documents and her service of dozens of subpoenas and other requests for written discovery, she has no evidence that the Wayfair parties employed a smear campaign. or did anything other than protect their reputations. So in Blake's world, she can say anything about you and she can accuse you of crimes, but you can't respond to her and defend yourself. So our outrage is m- accusing her of being an aggressor and being unreasonable. Well, Lively, if the shoe fits, your approach is extremely aggressive. It is abusive. You have a husband that's worth what, $400 million dollars and has multiple companies that he's behind. And, the businesses that he's sold have been worth billions. And you're somehow worried about a content creator that has 2 followers on YouTube and what they say about you. That's abusive. And if you are spending so much time worrying about what the public thinks about you, maybe you should get offline and just spend time with your kids and do something else. Or just ignore the public backlash and accept that this is a part of your job as a public figure, that not everyone's going to like you. That's part of being a public figure. Could you imagine if every celebrity in the world did something like this? Think of some of the celebrities that have had bigger issues with being canceled on a much global level. Like, imagine if Taylor Swift, who has a way bigger social media platform, decided to go after every social media user that speaks out against her, or Kim Kardashian, or Selena Gomez, or Justin Bieber. It's insane. You have to just accept it and tune out the noise and go up on your day and accept that at some point in your career, if your behavior doesn't match your facade that you put out and people reject what you've done, they have a right to reject what you've done. You can either correct your behavior and be accountable and apologize, like Anne Hathaway did to Chastity Flaw and said, "I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to treat you rudely in that. I was having a bad day, but that's not an excuse. I shouldn't have done that." You could have easily just apologized to Chastity, but you didn't. You could have easily just apologized to the domestic violence survivors that were speaking out, but you didn't. You could have acknowledged the domestic violence organizations that were speaking out against the way that you marketed, but you didn't. Instead, you blamed everyone for your choices. And then you wanted Wayfair to take the fall, and you're still saying that it's their fault to this day that people are reacting to how you're treating people. And that's the problem. Nobody's threatening Blake. Nobody wants to cause harm to Blake. Nobody wants her to go away or even to be hurt. They just want her to stop and take responsibility and stop issuing abusive subpoenas to the court. And it's unfathomable that a judge in federal court in the state of New York would allow this kind of abusive behavior with subpoenas to even be entertained or used. Just because you can subpoena someone doesn't mean you should. And this judge, and allowing this ridiculous ongoing smear campaign narrative to go on when she's the one that filed this lawsuit, he should. Judges, not all of them deserve lifetime appointments. And Lehman is a fool, in my opinion, for allowing this lawsuit to even be anywhere entertained in his court. He has so many reasons to throw out this case based on her evidence that they've already presented to them as being from a sham subpoena. The fact that she doesn't have an EEOC letter claiming that she can file this lawsuit, or the fact that she's thus far provided no evidence of the smear campaign. And yet he continues to entertain her delusions. And that is the problem with narcissists in court, is that judges entertain their delusions. And at some point in time, judges need to be the judges and stand up for the people that are being targeted and saying enough. So thank you, Kevin Fritz and Wayfair, for standing up for the content creators. Thank you for standing up for Melissa Nathan. And Blake Lively will never learn and just got scolded in court. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. If you are interested in continuing to help us with our legal fees, you can send super thanks, you can comment, you can like. Please subscribe for the ongoing drama, and make sure that you share this video with your friends. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, besties.